Hey ladies, my name is Nola Brantley and I'm from Los Angeles, California. For 15 years, I was a nonprofit leader, and now for the past 7 years, I've been training professionals across disciplines with a huge emphasis on self-care. So I want to talk to you all today about sleep. Yes, sleep. Sleep is one of the pillars of our health. Just as important as eating healthy and exercising, but oftentimes it's the forgotten pillar of our health. And so I want to talk to you about sleep and how incredibly important it is in order to really have optimal health. Because the bottom line is, without having sleep, we could not have optimal health. Even if we're eating super healthy and we're exercising every day, if we're missing that component of good sleep, then we are going to be in big trouble. So yes to sleep. Sleep is essential, and that has definitely been a buzzword for the last year or so about things that are essential in this world and in our lives. And sleep is one of those things that's essential. Sleep allows both our body and our mind to recharge, and we need that. We take in a lot, we do a lot, we see a lot, we say a lot every day. So having that time for our mind and body to recharge is something that is very much needed. Sleep also leaves us feeling refreshed and alert to approach a new day. I know that many of you probably can relate to that feeling of starting the day already tired. But as we, really get good sleep, we start the day refreshed and alert. Sleep also helps our body stay healthy as well as fight off disease that can be attacking against our body. So again, yes to sleep. Another bottom line is that without enough sleep, our minds cannot function properly. And as women leaders and so much more, we definitely need our minds to be sharp and functioning. And without sleep, that is not going to be what we're going to get. So some of the major benefits of sleeping would be things like improved concentration and productivity. Definitely can use as much of that as possible. Also enhanced problem-solving skills, as well as enhanced memory. That's a huge thing that's impacted by sleep, memory, which is something that we need. Last but certainly not least, and these are just some major things I'm highlighting here, making sure that we get enough sleep helps to improve our immune function. And if no time in life has taught us, I know the last year has spoke loud and clear about how important it is to have strong immunity. So going without adequate sleep carries both kind of immediate consequences as well as long-term consequences. And so it's both in our kind of immediate benefit and long-term benefit to make sure that we are getting enough sleep. And there's lots of things that are impacted negatively by a lack of sleep. We have attention lapses when we're not getting enough sleep. We have delayed reactions to things because we're tired. The actual gaining weight actually is something that is more likely to happen when we're not getting enough sleep, believe it or not. We have a greater risk to things like heart disease and stroke, greater risk of experiencing things like depression, and it's kind of depressing to be sleepy all the time as well. It's also linked to increased inflammation when we're not getting enough sleep, as well as mood shifts that are not that nice. And some of the other, things that are affected by us getting enough sleep are things like our glucose levels, our metabolism, our risk to things like type 2 diabetes, our emotional state, and even how we interact socially. All of these are areas that are impacted by sleep, and there's lots more areas that are impacted as well. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I only get a few hours sleep every day, and I'm fine. And you are someone that has probably developed some tolerance. Some people can develop a sort of tolerance to chronic sleep deprivation. And even though your brains and bodies are still struggling, you don't notice it because it's become your normal state of being, and that can have really bad consequences on your health. So you want to break out of that if you're there, and if you're not there, you don't want to get there. So, for the average person, a healthy diet and positive lifestyle habits can really help ensure that you're getting a good night's sleep. However, for some people, chronic lack of sleep can be the signs and really the first sign of a sleeping disorder. So if you feel like your problems with sleep are less about habit and more about things that are out of your control, no matter how hard you try to adjust other things, I would definitely see a medical professional to see what can be done. So in terms of the right amount of sleep, that is going to depend on your age. But for most of you ladies, it will fall between 7 and 9 hours a night of sleep that we need to get. And that's every night. Even on the weekends, we still need to get that amount of sleep. And so sometimes it could be difficult to settle down at night. And sometimes we have a lot of that actually in our control. So we want to make sure we establish a realistic bedtime and try to stick to it every night, even on the weekends. It's also important to maintain a very comfortable temperature in the room. What's comfortable for you? I like it to be a little bit cooler. I sleep way better when it's cooler. And also making sure your lights are low and not just right before you go to bed, but as you begin to wind down, really lowering those lights in your sleeping area. Because when the lights are bright, our brain and body gets the message that we need to be awake. You also want to make sure your sleeping area is comfortable, your pillows, your sheets, your mattress, really making sure that you're honoring that space that you go to recharge every single night and making sure that is comfortable. Another big thing that can be a big struggle for many of us is screen time. The Kindle, the laptop, the iPad, the iPhone, the Android, whatever it is. Really trying to consider ending screen time a couple of hours before our bedtime, or maybe even banning screens from being in your bedroom altogether. Whatever works for you. We also want to avoid things like large meals, alcohol, or caffeine close to bedtime. That's one that I have to really work on because I do like to have my tea. And so I have to remember to have the one that's decaffeinated as I'm approaching those bedtime hours. And also being active and exercising during the day can really help to get a better night's sleep when we lay it down. So sleep is really important. I hope that you are getting adequate sleep or striving in that direction. And I'm going to leave you all with a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. Also, I could finally sleep. And this was the real gift. Because when you cannot sleep, you cannot get yourself out of the ditch. There's not a chance. So make sure you're getting your sleep, gals.